yes, I have been really lucky to get to spend as much time with my baby as I have, but this perception that being a stay-at-home mum is easy is absolute bullshit. So I've had a lot of comments recently, mainly from men who don't know what they're talking about how easy it is to stay at home with a toddler. Like, as I said, I am really lucky that I've got to spend as much time as I have with her. Like, I'm glad I haven't missed that. I've managed to see all of her milestones and like watch her experience everything for the first time, but it's not easy. And I also don't have the issue of needing to be up and dressed and out of the house at a certain time, because like, hats off to you guys that do that. That just stresses me out. But staying at home all day with a toddler, it's not easy. It is not easy at all. And prior to having Baby Bell, well, prior to falling pregnant actually, because we went into lockdown and there wasn't much work going on then. Prior to that, I'd worked for like 21 years. So I've worked in customer facing jobs. We all know that the general public are awful. I've worked in management jobs. I've managed people, I've managed products, I've managed facilities. I've had jobs that start at like 6 in the morning and end at 10:30 at night. Obviously not in the same day, I don't think that's legal. I've worked like 50-hour weeks when I was saving up to buy my own property, and none of that is as hard as this. Like, doesn't even come close to it. So like I said, there are obviously the good points. The main point is being able to spend time with my child, but there are also some bits that I struggle with personally. Like, I don't know if this is the same for everybody, but the first one, and I think the biggest one, is lack of me time. Like, there is no time to myself. I'm filming this, my child is just down there playing with a puzzle. Sometimes, especially when they're younger, not so much now, but especially when they're younger, you're on duty for 24 hours because you're the stay-at-home parent. You're expected to, or there's an expectation that you're the one that gets up in the night with them because you haven't got to go out and do a job. You're the one that has to get up in the night for them. So that's like a 24-hour thing. When Baby Bell was first born, when she was like sort of 2 months old, John was travelling like 100 miles sometimes to work in the mornings. Obviously it was like December, January time, so it was dark and it was raining, and there was no way I could let him drive after having to get up with her in the night. So I was literally on duty for 24 hours. When you go out to work, you tend to get like peace on your commute. If you drive in, you've got a nice peaceful drive. You get a lunch break, you get to go to the toilet without your work colleagues coming with you, and you don't get any of that. Like, tomorrow I've got a dentist appointment. Now, if I was at work, like in paid employment, Baby Bell would be at nursery. So I would just go off to my dentist appointment, but because she's not in childcare, she's got to come with me. And I'm not entirely sure what I am going to do with the 2-year-old while I'm having dentist checkup, because she won't sit in a pushchair or anything. It's going to be fun, but if I was at work, I could just go off and do it. And it's just like anything. There's no like, just, you can't just go off and do stuff. Like, if I'm at work, if I was employed, I think saying if I'm at work, because I do work, I have my own business, but if I was employed, I have like John has the opportunity to work through his lunch break, and then he can go off to the gym before he comes home. I can't do that, so there is no me time, and I really enjoy time to myself to just decompress, especially if I've had a busy day. So for me, that one's huge, and I think people don't realise that, and they don't realise how difficult it is not to have any time to yourself until you don't actually have any time to yourself. My next one is another one that's difficult. Well, obviously these are all difficult for me, but it's the feeling of like financial dependence. So I started working alongside college when I was 16, so I've had my own money coming in for years and years and years, decades, and I've always like provided for myself. I've never needed to rely on someone else. So not having my own income coming in has been hard. Now, my business is starting to pick up a bit, so it doesn't look like it's going to be that way forever. John wouldn't ever say, no, you're not having any access to any money. Like, that's not the sort of thing he would do. But in my mind, I am relying on someone else if I need anything. So I don't feel like I can just go and get my hair done. I feel like I have to say, like, I need to get my hair done. So I'm going to be I need to take like whatever that is. I need to get my hair cut, I need to take £35 or whatever, whereas before I wouldn't even, you know, I would just do it. Like I wouldn't even need to check or anything. And that's quite a difficult one when you've spent years and years and years not relying on anybody. The next one I've got is lack of mental stimulation. So I like my brain to be working. I don't know if that's that I'm currently going through ADHD diagnosis. I don't know if that's related to that, but I can't just sit around and not do anything. Previous to giving birth, I was quite active. I'm not as active now, but I like my brain to be busy and learning stuff and singing Old MacDonald Had a Farm over and over and over and over again 95 times a day is not like the mental stimulation I'm looking for. Like I like to be learning, I like to be like challenged, and that's hard. And I think that's one of the reasons why I started my own business, because during nap time, not that there was much nap time, I could do a bit of learn everything that I needed to learn for the business, and that's kept my brain going. Because I think if I was just doing baby and toddler activities all day, I would probably go insane. But the flip side of that is that you constantly need to come up with things to entertain them. So when they're tiny and they sleep a lot and they don't really do anything, you don't need to come up with too much. But Baby Bell's very active. She likes to be doing something all the time. Like she's not massively into the TV. She's been a little bit more into the TV the last 2 weeks because she's not been feeling well. But other than that, I'm constantly needing to find things to do to keep her entertained for 9 hours a day. Now I know, like they say, let them be bored and that, but obviously I can't let her be bored for 9 hours a day, and I also need to be going somewhere. And when you're only on one income, you can't be like, I would absolutely love to be taking her to like farms and, you know, like play cafes and stuff every single day. But that would probably add up to like £200 a week, and like we can't afford that on this one income plus my tiny income that's coming in now. So I'm constantly having to come up with things to do, like free things and things to entertain her and things to let her get her energy out, because she's very, very active. So you could say that is mental stimulation, but actually it's not. It's a pain in the ass. It's kind of like, it's the equivalent to having to decide what to have for dinner every night. And we're quite lucky where we are. We've got quite a few free things that we can do, and obviously in the spring, summer and some of the autumn you've got the park and that, but then that becomes a little bit boring for me, because going to the park over and over and over and over again. We went twice yesterday. We went to the park twice. Another thing I struggle with is the lack of routine. Obviously when you go to work, you've got your set hours that you work, or your set shifts. You know, like when you're starting work and when you're finishing work and what you've got to get done in between. And there's none of that when you're staying at home, because there just isn't. Like I don't know why. Because we don't have to be out of the house at a certain time, because there's nothing that we have to be doing at a certain time. Routine is difficult, and I think if you haven't got routine, you then sort of struggle to get stuff done. So I really have to force myself like to get out. It's easier now that she's older, because if we don't get out of the house, then it's just a nightmare by like 11 a.m. So we will go out every single morning, and there's quite a few afternoons we're out as well. But there's no routine to it. I know I'm not really explaining this very well. And then my last one, and this is one that I'm only just sort of coming to the realisation about it, that society's expectation is that if you're at home looking after a child, you're also doing everything else. So you're doing all the housework and all of the life admin and everything, when actually looking after a child is a full-time job on its own. Like if you were to pay £70 a day for nursery, they wouldn't be cooking your dinner and doing your shopping and cleaning your house and everything for you. And there seems to be this expectation, but because you're staying at home, you're going to be there doing all of the housework. Now I don't. I hate housework. I would rather go out and work and pay someone to do it. I do some. I always cook dinner, I always do all the washing, I normally do the hoovering, but I'm not going to be making sure that the house is looking perfect when John gets home from work, because that's not my job. Like if I have time outside of what I'm doing with Baby Bell and outside of trying to run my business, then I will do some housework. But there seems to be this expectation that because someone is at home, they're going to do it all. Like we used to have a cleaner, and people would be like, oh, what do you do all day then? I've got a child. I've got a child that I am solely responsible for. I don't have anyone that I can go and drop her off to for half an hour or half a day or whatever to get stuff done. I have a child, so I will do what I can do in that time, but my sole job as a stay-at-home mum is to be a mum, to look after my child. And people don't seem to get that. Like, John's really, really good. He doesn't have this expectation of like me getting all of the housework done, but he's then very surprised if like he hasn't got any clean pans because I haven't had time to do it. If you were to pay someone to look after your child and cook your dinner for you and clean your house for you, you wouldn't be expecting them to do that all in one go, and it would cost you about £1,000 a week. So letting go of those expectations has been really, really good for me. Like, our house isn't dirty, but it's definitely not tidy all the time, and it's impossible to keep it tidy when you have a toddler, because if they're not getting all their toys out, they're smearing their hands all over the mirror. We've got a dog as well that sheds hair everywhere, so I've let go of that now, but it took me like 2.5 years. Anyway guys, that's just like a rant of mine, and I've actually managed to film this whole video. Babybel's still playing with her puzzle, which is amazing. If you are a stay-at-home mum, or you're not a stay-at-home mum and you've got an opinion of it, let me know in the comments, because I do like reading these. It is interesting to see what other people think. People that haven't lived through it are normally wrong. Like, I can't comment on how hard it is to be a working parent or not an employed parent, because my own business, I can do it whenever I want. If I've got any old child or we haven't slept or anything like that, then I can usually just push it to side and not worry about it. But I haven't experienced being a parent that has to go out to work and be at a certain time and be in a certain place, so I can't comment on that. Like, I can't say whether that would be harder or easier. I don't think it would be either. I think it's just an entire different set of ridiculous circumstances. But I know that people that aren't stay-at-home parents do like to have an opinion on it. But anyway guys, as usual, hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, don't forget to leave us a like, a comment and hit that subscribe button. Makes us happy, lets YouTube know the videos were shown to other people. We'll see you next time. Bye.